Okay, today I'm going to look through all of our code that we did in setting up our website program and explain to you all the pieces involved and how they all work together. So, and we'll have some documentation in the remarks about this video, and you can use that to look through some of the information that we're looking at here. So, first thing we have is a file called index.php, and this exists on any web server anywhere in the world, and it is the first file that gets opened when the web server is requested to display a website. So the first thing in this file is a tag saying we're going directly into PHP code. We're not even going to do a web page here at this point. So the question mark PHP is the tag to start out PHP scripting language, and that lets the web server know that we are now going to do stuff that the web server has to deal with in PHP. And so the first command here is to say require another file. And the first thing after require is 2 underscores and the code dir, which stands for directory, and 2 more underscores. This is called a magic constant in PHP. And using this tells the server to go find what the current directory is of the website that we're working with, and to put that before what we're going to type after this. And then after this we're going to do slash the name of my file, which is tpl website.php. So that tells the PHP interpreter to open that file and to include that in this file at this location. And in that file is all the code that is required to make the web page display. So we now have that right there, and then we continue on, and we have three remarked lines. The 2 slashes signifies a remark that the programmer can write about the program that he's writing, and it does not cause anything to happen to the program. It's just a note for other programmers to read, to say, oh, this is what he was intending to do here. So this is what we're doing, is little notes to ourselves and other people who may be helping us at some point in time. Documenting is incredibly important. And so the first thing we get to is, in order to do what we want to do, we have to access a database file. So what we're going to do here is we set up a variable for the host and give it a value. And every host has a default name of localhost for itself. And then we have a variable called username. All variables in PHP start with the $sign. So the username is set to username, the password is set to password, and the database is set to the name of the database that I have named in setting up the database, which is called website. And then we go on to create a connection to the database using a PHP command, which is called MySQLi. And we say that a variable called con for connection, an abbreviation, is a new MySQLi, and we pass it all the variables that we set up before: the host, the username, the password, and the database. And then we check to make sure that the connection worked. If it failed, it'll show a failure message. If it did not fail, we continue on. The die is a command in PHP that tells the script to stop functioning entirely and and show this message on the browser. So if something went wrong in here, that you didn't have the right information in, or if there was something wrong with the database connection, it would tell you an error message right here and why it failed. So if it didn't fail, then it continues on and it says take a variable and set it to a MySQL command, which is select everything from the database websites. The table in the database called websites. Website singular is the name of the database. Websites plural is the name of the table. And if I switch over to another screen here, one second. So this is PHP MyAdmin. And this is my database. All the databases on my local server. This is the database that we're talking about. It's called website. And this is to show you what's inside these two tables. And this is the websites table. And if I click on that, it opens it up and shows me what's inside. And for each page that I set up on the website, we have a record in the table. And if I click on edit, it'll let me see all these preset fields that I put in here to make this work. And so we have a page title, which is a variable character of 30 maximum characters, and that just has the word home in it. We have a page link, which I set up to contain all the information required to make it be a link to where it goes on to get to that page. And then we have the page content, which is welcome to my new website, which I typed into there. And this is a text field, and consequently that could be like multiple paragraphs, so you're free to put in whatever you need. MySQL, PHP MyAdmin is a fantastic package for maintaining your databases on your web server. So it's something to consider. And this is the page heading for each of the pages, and this has the words home page. And so that is that one. And then if I come back here to the database, I can now look at CSS. The CSS is much simpler because it just has a CSS ID and CSS content. And if I edit one of these, you can see you can put, this is another text field, and you can put as many lines as you want in it. So it becomes a free-form text editor, basically, within the database. So this is all my CSS commands that I've put into here. So that's phpMyAdmin. So I'm going to close this. This is the beginnings of working with W3 Schools, and it shows you an example of what all of our different major types of tags are within an HTML file. And this will show you a page. And if I click on Try It Yourself, it comes up with the built-in editor and lets you play with this and make changes to it. And it shows you on the right-hand side what your page is going to look like within the web browser. So it's a nice interactive playground for you to work with. So they also have on here an HTML reference. I'm putting links to all of this in the text for this particular video, so you can go back and click on it and take a look at all these things. This shows you every tag that there is in HTML that you can put into your website. And it's a lot of stuff. And it also has things to say when it's not supported in HTML5, because this was a tag that was in there for previous versions of HTML. And the latest version does not necessarily support all these different things that used to be supported. So that's that one. And now let's get back to what we were looking at here. So now we've set up and connected to our database, and then what we do is we say that select everything from websites, which is the table that we just looked at, and then set the variable called result to the query results. So that's done by the con query SQL. So that makes a new variable called result, and this result has an array of all the records in the table that it was just requesting things from. And this is now, if we have more than 0 rows, then we want to output the data of each row. So we say while row equals result fetch associate, and that's to grab an associated array of what was in the record. And then it says page equals an array, which page equals array creates an empty array called page, and that empty array is now fed into the different elements of what is in the table into an array locally. And then we have another array called pages here. Okay. And pages is being added to with the current page. I did not specify it to have. That's odd. That's a bug. I will fix that. So anyways, we will add this page to an array called pages, so that pages ends up being an array of multiple arrays. And then we come down to here, and this starts taking all the things that we wrote into the website application, and we tell the website application we're going to pass it the pages, and then we're going to tell it to set up the data, and then we're going to tell it to show the data. And at this point, you are now displaying the currently selected web page using the program that we were looking at. And so now we will go and look at the code for the website. So we have a class called DPL website, and this begins the code that makes the whole thing work. We've set up private variables, and the reason we set up private variables is so that somebody trying to use this code cannot change the variables within our code unless they actually come in and modify this particular code, so that that helps protect the data within it, so that it does not have conflicting information. Then we have a function called __ construct, and it's passed in a variable it calls pages, and it says this my pages equals the pages that were passed in. So it's moving an array from the outside world into an array that it has built up here. So here is my pages being set up as an array, and this takes all the things that it was passed in and puts it into that array. And then this function setData goes through and takes the data that was passed in, and it passes it back into its own array within its own data, local data. So it tears apart the data that it was passed in, and then it takes the information that was passed one at a time, one record at a time, and it passes it into an array that it has locally. And then the function showData takes the array that it has internally and it breaks it out, and you'll notice the first thing it says is the doc type HTML, and then it sets up an HTML section, a head section, and a title section, and puts in the title of the page that you are currently looking at. And then it says the heading is done, and then it starts the body, and then it puts in the heading of the page, and then it prints out the nav bar, and then it prints out the content, and that's the end of the body and the end of the HTML, and that's where our program ends. So if you have any questions about any of this, you can leave it in the comments under the video here, and I will respond to any questions that are asked and try to get back to you as quickly as I can. So thank you for visiting. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I will see you next time that I do a video. Take care.